I don't know. I think I'll probably quit the hobby. I feel like...
Show's over? This is the final episode?
I feel like I've accomplished enough that, you know, it can live on for posterity. And
well, you've probably gotten about as good as you
yeah, it's probably, you know, it's kind of like a Ridley Scott thing where I've gotten all my good miniatures out, and everything from here on out will just be... Wait, has Ridley Scott done anything? You can't see it, but Thomas is
quite the position.
Perched like a frog. So I don't know if this is a particularly important episode, but I think we should just kind of wrap up some of the general things we learned, along with, in addition to the more specific things we learned that kind of had their own episodes. The first thing I learned is that people do enjoy painted miniatures more than unpainted miniatures, because I have a group of board gamers, not miniature war gamers, not RPG gamers. We had played this game before with unpainted miniatures, and it was kind of like, okay, we played another board game. It was very kind of like, brought this in, there was just a lot more excitement. There was just a lot more smiles, laughing, joking. There's that sort of, I don't know what you would call it, joke role-playing, where people were, you know, making comments about how the zombies are just piled on top of each other, a pile, and, characters are facing the wrong way. They were really kind of enjoying it, and then they kind of got, kind of intimidated when all the zombies were really piling up and whatnot, and then when we dealt with it, it was more of a... One might say that there was more immersion, that it was more of a... What else did we learn? Priming. So you'll remember in the first episode, we went and we primed with... Stand by. I gotta illustrate my point. Don't put that in there, Thomas. I was running like a dweeb. It was a very embarrassing run.
I'll cut it out.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I don't want strange people thinking, you know.
I know you don't really watch the finished videos, but I go to great lengths to kind of protect your image.
I appreciate that. I don't know, maybe I'll watch one of them one of these days.
Yeah, you should. They're good.
But, okay, let's not get too crazy there, Thomas. Like, I'm sure they're fine. Let other people give you compliments,
I'll let other people
Thomas. That's the classy way to do it. That's the classy way to do it. You'll notice we primed with this. Despite saying it also bonds to plastic, I guess that means it sort of doesn't completely slide off on plastic, but it slid off. When we were rubbing the poly shades, it would rub off not the Citadel paint. It would completely rub off this. It rubbed off completely down to the plastic. So I need to go and really, even if, and this was a nice color, it was a nice base color to work off of, but I needed to go through with an actual primer next time, something that will do a much better job of sticking to the miniature and then provide the miniature paints something even better to stick to. And it probably wouldn't have been a problem if I didn't, you know, have a particularly rubby technique taking the shade off the miniature, but it did illustrate the point that primer is primer, paint is paint, and
make sure you use primer.
Yeah, use primer.
I would also like to point out, throw that back up here, that camo. That is strike 2 for Rust-Oleum.
That's a good, sorry. shouldn't be laughing.
That's the Corporation Rust-Oleum.
Well, you know what?
Ltd.
I would need to get another can to illustrate my point.
That's twice now that Rust-Oleum has
Strike two.
strike two.
Strike two. And you know what? I feel like this mic needs to go a little here. Moving
around.
there. Yeah, there we go.
on.
Strike two.
Strike two for... That'll be the second strike for Rust-Oleum. Strike two.
I'm getting a text. Well, Bitcoin is up to 670.
As you can see, this has been patched, but no such luck for this. So this one is still claiming also bonds to plastic.
It really feels like an afterthought. It's like, well, also.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a bunch of miniatures with Krylon, you'll kind of get this white dusty, since it's so misty, as you guys saw, you'll get a little, but apparently that'll just rinse right off. So if you don't like it, you can just rinse your miniatures. I didn't mind it. So that's, I guess a lot of the big things I learned on the project. If you're gonna do skin tones on the zombies, I really suggest this Nurgling green. I really liked that color along with this white, I think it's Pallid Witch Flesh. That's a nice one. And this one, what is it, Storm Vermin Fur? That was a nice one. This blue didn't work out as well as I think I would have liked. It's Frisian gray, it's okay. But yeah, I found this kind of like sort of very dark and very light colors to be pretty striking, as well as this green, because it's very much that sort of stereotypical Frankenstein's monster sort of green. So that's nice. I really don't have that much to say about the heroes. I talked about them a bit at length in the second video. So finished Nellie, we finished Clovis. Clovis was definitely, and I saved him for last. Maybe I shouldn't have. It just takes a lot of time. There's just a lot of details. But yeah, me personally, who is still kind of at the phase of the hobby where it's kind of very result oriented, if that makes sense. I'm not primarily painting for just the pleasure of it. It's either, it's for the show, or it's so I can get painted miniatures for a game. Although I am learning to enjoy it. Yeah, that said, yes, it is very nice to have a whole game painted. You can play it. People, I don't know, they enjoy it. It certainly adds something, because you could just play this game with cardboard chits.
Cardboard what?
Cardboard chit. But there's something about having models that's very nice. And it definitely made me more excited to, I guess, continue working on the Imperial Assault miniatures. So in a way, I think I do definitely recommend this technique for this game, for the Shade, because it will help get it done a lot quicker. You can enjoy them at this level, and I do enjoy miniatures at this level. There is an element of kind of thinking about how am I going to use these miniatures, why am I painting those miniatures, and applying, I guess, a level of detail or a level of attention that's appropriate for how they're going to be used. Because although I might take this miniature and really, let me look at it like this, and another player might do that, very few people are going to do that with one of the zombies. Or at least not as much. But it does kind of encourage me when I go back to Imperial Assault for certain units to not worry about maybe putting as much detail into the highlights as I might, otherwise. Originally, when I was first learning to paint, I was watching the Thrastro videos and whatnot. I would make sure, I gotta get the base colors very precise. And I would make sure that this dark blue, none of this would get up here, which is all well and good, but it takes a bit of effort to make sure absolutely nothing gets up there. And then if you make a mistake, then you take the light blue and you go back over there. And it takes a lot more time than just generally, okay, and if I get a little dark blue on that light blue, whatever, not a big deal. And the shade does sort of help, especially if you're doing a highlighting step, it does help to sort of cover some of those areas. I mean, I guess if I were doing a painting competition, that would matter, but given that I am painting more for gameplay and for this channel, it's better to just have more done. So something you'll notice that's missing is all of the blood and glowing eyes. So my plan is at some point to put on the eyes. I know that is definitely a fantasy undead trash trope that should definitely be implemented into this game, as well as playing around with some blood for the blood god. And I bought some Nurgle's Rot to put on the zombies as well. That said, the miniatures they're sealed, they're perfectly playable, and I'm gonna play with them like this. And if I have some time or feel particularly inspired later, I'll add the glowing eyes and the other. Pay attention to what your goals are with the miniatures, because my techniques did not fit what my goals were. I was way more obsessive with the painting than I should have been, and it would make me burn out and not want to paint. I feel like I went on a real bunny trail from that.
Yeah.
So I definitely enjoyed the heroes. They definitely gave me the chance to do something fantasy themed rather than sci-fi themed. Who I am, I guess, as a painter is still being formed, but I am very happy we got this game, and I was very happy with the masses of figures that were in it that really taught me that sometimes just getting things done is a lot better than doing them well. So I know I didn't really cover the heroes in any real detail, but if you guys do have any questions about the heroes or something you liked that I did, just drop me a line in the comments. You know, we only have but so many subscribers, so your comment will probably not be lost in the comment bar, and I'll be happy to answer them. Maybe we'll just make a video. If you send us like $1 or something, we might send you like a postcard. I'm actually better at writing than I am typing, so if you mail me a letter with a return letter in there, I will write you back. I guess the challenge would be doxing me and getting my address.
Well, if they have any,
I don't feel like I would be hard to
we would not
to
be
track
very
down.
hard to dox.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. We cried a lot.